on, everybody? Welcome to the Head First Project, where it's all about attacking life head first. Thank you for listening. I'm your host, Nate Hoffman. Today is Saturday Stew. This is where we talk about a fitness topic in depth and stew over the science behind it to better understand how and why things happen, to get a better insight into our bodies and our training. Today's topic is eating to gain weight. Some of today's podcast information comes from Susan Kleiner's book, Power Eating. I have the 4th edition of the text. You can find it on Amazon for as low as $5.99 used. You can get it new for about $20. This isn't most of the information in the podcast. A lot of it is things I already know off the top of my head, but this is a great book for resources of food ideas, recipes, diet plans. It's got really good diet plans mapped out that go by body weight and your activity level and the sort of training and sports you're doing. If you have any interest in dieting or improving your nutrition overall, pick up this book for $6. Even if you're a little bit interested, you're wasting your money not buying it. It's got a lot of really good stuff. It goes into all the diet stuff that I mentioned, and then it also has a lot of information proving and disproving claims between different foods and supplements, all that sort of stuff. When it comes to training, one of the biggest questions that you see on the internet that I get from people, I know a lot of you, I'm sure, get from people if you are a personal trainer or you help people out, is how do I get bigger? How do I gain weight? How do I gain muscle? You get these people asking questions all the time, and most of them are all saying the same thing. They say, I eat so much food in a day, you wouldn't understand, you can't believe how much food I eat. It's impossible for me to gain weight. There's absolutely no way I can gain weight. I can't eat any more than this. And to that, I say you're wrong. I think most people are not eating as much as they really think they are. They don't have a real understanding of what they need to eat to gain weight, or they're not doing the right things to gain weight. And it is causing them problems, and they're thinking that they're doing things a lot different than they actually are. So I want to talk about how you can actually gain weight and what you need to do to get to that point that you're gaining consistently with your training. Yeah, some people are going to have a higher inclination to gain weight naturally. Some people that are just bigger people are going to put weight on a lot easier, almost sometimes to the point that it's a problem. And a lot of people struggle with weight stuff like this, that they don't want to put the weight on. But then there's also going to be the hard gainers out there that almost can't gain weight unless they're measuring everything and doing everything perfectly the way they need to. So I want to talk a little bit about that and get things straight. For those of you that don't know me, or maybe didn't know me back in high school whenever I first started weightlifting, I kind of thought I was this way too. I thought that I couldn't gain weight. I thought that I couldn't put muscle on. I was struggling, and I really thought that I was just going to kind of be where I was at for a really long time. This is why I want to tell you guys, you're going about it wrong. If you didn't know me in high school, or you didn't go through high school with me, I started training in about 2012 when I started playing football. I'd never done any sort of exercise before. I wasn't really a big sports kid. I never weightlifted or anything like that. So at this point, I started training in 2012. I was probably 15 at the time, 14, 15 at the time. I started playing football in high school, and I was 5'10", 145 pounds. I wanted to be a running back and a linebacker, and I did that, and I got my ass absolutely handed to me on a regular basis because I was doing these aggressive positions, and I was about the width of a fence post. I had no training experience. I was doing the garbage football workouts that they just threw up on the dry erase board because the coaching staff didn't really have a clue what was going on. I had no idea how to eat. I didn't know how to train properly. I didn't understand any of that. So I started training, and I got a little bit of weight on me, but it just still wasn't getting to be where I needed to. I broke my arm and decided that football was dumb, and I hated it because I did, and that just really concreted the fact for me that I wanted nothing to do with football. Once again, because I had absolutely no weight on me, and I got my ass handed to me at practice all the time. So after I got done playing football, I became obsessed with weightlifting. I learned as much as I could. I trained all the time, every single day after school. I went to other gyms outside of the school. I was looking up stuff, talking to the older kids that were more experienced. I was doing everything I could to learn as much about weightlifting as I could. Fast forward about a year or so, this was probably 2013, 2014. It had to be 2013. I decided that I wanted to compete in a powerlifting meet because some of the people that I was close with liked to do powerlifting, and there was a local meet coming up. At this point, I had put about 20 pounds on over a year, so I went from 145 to 165, and I did that powerlifting meet. I did all right, but I still wasn't where I wanted to be. And for maybe another 6 months after that, I was staying about 165 pounds. I just couldn't, I thought I was going to be stuck there forever. I really changed the way I did things at that point in, like I said, 2013. It was probably getting towards the middle or end of it. I started changing up my training a lot and the way I was eating, and I managed to get to 210 pounds before I graduated high school in 2015, after I thought I was going to be stuck at that weight for a long time. So in a matter of 3 years, from 2012 to 2015, I managed to gain 70 pounds overall. Like I said, some people are going to gain easier than others. You're going to have people that put on weight almost too easily, that they struggle with weight problems, and then you're going to have kind of the middle ground that it's pretty easy either way for them, or you have people that can't put weight on unless they try super hard. You're going to have beginner gains whenever you first start training, and a lot of people, once you start training, because your body's used to being sedentary and hasn't done weight training or anything like that before, you're going to have some really, really aggressive responses to that. Your body's going to get really strong and put on a lot of muscle super fast, and then you're going to plateau really hard over time the more seasoned you get. So in that first year or two, you're going to make more progress than you probably will in the next 5 years. That's not saying that you won't be able to make progress anymore, but it's just going to slow down a lot, so you got to keep that in mind too. Also, not everyone's going to see huge progression like this straight out of the gate. Most people are going to. It's just how your body responds to training for the first time, but some people are going to see massive jumps. Like I managed to get 70 pounds in first 3 years of my training, and then other people aren't going to be able to get that much. But it all just depends on what you do. So I want to talk about the nutrition behind it to get the most out of that, especially whenever you're starting out or if you start to plateau. To get the most out of your progression, you really need to analyze what you're doing and take it all into like the big picture and see if you're being efficient and realistic with what you're doing. I want to go back to what I said about how you hear people all the time say, I'm eating so much food, I can't eat much more anymore in a day. You don't understand how much I eat. And then you hear their mom all the time and they're like, oh, he eats everything in the house. I can't afford to go shopping every day. He eats so much food. And I think it's like a really big misconception, because most people think that they're eating and taking in a lot more than they are. And most of it's like bullshit garbage food anyway, so it's not really helping you out, but you're not really taking in what you think you are. So before you determine how much you need to eat on a daily basis, you need to look at how much you're eating right now. This is going to require a little bit of work. So before you determine what you're at right now, you need to get some basis of consistency in your life. If you skip meals on some days and overeat on other days and are a mess and you ping pong around and everything, if you work a certain schedule that you wake up and you don't eat a meal, or you skip meals at work, stuff like that, it's super easy to do. But if that's where you're at, you need to develop some consistency and iron things out before you're ever ready to tackle the point of getting the most out of your training and putting on weight and muscle and all that. So if you skip meals and overeat and bounce all around, the math doesn't work out that way. You got to be consistent and be regulated. Do that before you try to get into doing all the calculations and figuring stuff out to use more specific science behind what you're doing. If you don't have that consistency, none of this is really going to work. So once you've balanced yourself out and you are eating consistent meals and you're not skipping stuff, you're not loading up one day and then having nothing the next day, that's when you need to start logging everything. Once you log all your food, what you eat for about, I would say 2 weeks is a pretty comfortable zone to do it in. That's enough time to really get a good running average of everything you do on a daily basis. 1 week isn't enough, in my opinion. More than 2 weeks would be great too, if you could do 3 weeks or something. If you're patient enough to do that, most people are not going to be. Do your 2 weeks of logging, because that's going to give you a nice consistent average and background of what you're doing. Because anyone can just have a good week straight, but then you're going to fall off. So if you can be consistent for 2 weeks, write everything down that you're eating, write when you're eating it, group it all together, be specific as possible. Don't just write down, I had chicken, rice, and broccoli for lunch. You want to say, even if you have to guess. I'm not saying that everyone has to go out and buy a scale because that's kind of ridiculous. You can even look it up to get better ideas of stuff. Say I had 6 ounces of chicken, I had a cup or 2 cups of rice, and this much broccoli. Or my snack at work, I had 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And then just keep a log of everything you eat for 2 weeks straight. Everything you eat, everything you drink, everything you consume, write it all down. After you've done that for 2 weeks, and you are ideally being consistent at that point so you should see a little bit of a pattern of things being kind of normal and being in a routine with the stuff you eat. Take that log of everything you wrote down, and that's when it's going to come time to do all the math on it. Whenever you do the math, you need to figure out how many calories you're eating a day, how many calories you're eating a week, and your macronutrient breakdown for your proteins, carbs, and fats. You don't have to do this like manually yourself. There's apps and websites that will help you out with this greatly. I recommend using MyFitnessPal. It's an app on Android and iOS. It's going to be the easiest way to do something like this. It is an app associated with Under Armour. It has a database on there that if you type in food, it's going to pop it up. You click on it, and then it adds it to your day. You can sort it by meals. So you can have like breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack. You can have meals. I'll put it all into one meal for the entire day, so you don't have to compartmentalize it into your little meals if you don't want to. But it's super easy. I think it's the best way to go. So basically the way it works is you type in your thing in your database and say you type in banana. It'll pop up and it'll say, was this a small banana, a medium banana, a large banana? And take your best guess. You don't got to pull out a tape measure or a scale and figure all this stuff out. You don't have to, use water displacement and figure out the exact volume of this banana. Don't be a dumbass. Just get a ballpark of what you're doing. And when you click on that, it'll tell you exactly how many calories it is for that average thing. So yeah, you're going to be plus or minus. You're going to be within the range of calories that, you're going to be within the error margin that is close enough. You can click on that and it'll do all that for you. And then the nice thing about MyFitnessPal that I like the most is it has, if you're using it on your phone, it has a QR code scanner on it. Well, QR and barcode scanner. So if you are eating, say, Quaker oatmeal for breakfast, instead of having to type that crap in, all you do is click on the barcode scanner, scan the barcode on the box, and on the app it'll pop up, boom, Quaker oatmeal, brown sugar and cinnamon. You click on it and it has all the calories, carbs, sodium, fats, everything that you want to know already on there. It makes it a lot easier. If you don't want to use an app for whatever reason and you like making your life harder, you can use WebMD online. It's pretty much the same thing as MyFitnessPal. It has a really good database, except it's on the computer or on your phone in your web browser instead of having the nice convenient app that you can scan stuff. Anyways, once you plug in all the stuff from your list of the 2 weeks that you've gone through, it's going to tell you your calories, proteins, fats, carbs, sodium, vitamins, everything you want to know for every individual day. We are not incredibly concerned with your micronutrients at this point. That is a whole nother level of getting specific and getting way in depth with things. And if you're just trying to sort out your calories, you've got a lot of work to do before that point. Take all your stuff with your calories and your protein and everything and write that down. Look at what you're doing on a daily basis. Look at what you're doing on a weekly basis. Average things out, see what you're getting on the average day and where you're actually at. Like I said, you should have some resemblance of consistency in your life at this point. Once you've captured all that information and seen what you are taking in and what your diet actually looks like, you need to figure out where you should be. In order to do this, you need to figure out your calorie intake for your specific body and activity level. I'm going to link in the description a link to the interactive spreadsheet I made. I shared this on Instagram the other day before I redid this episode because I was unhappy with it. I wanted to get it laid out a little bit better and get more specific and concise information for you guys. So go ahead and look up that link. You can either find it in the description or just message me, contact me, text me, whatever you need to do, and I will send you a link to that. It makes it super easy. It does all the work for you. It doesn't get easier than that. But if you want to go the difficult route and learn something and do it yourself, which I highly recommend doing, I'm going to tell you how to do that. You can go and look up something called the Harris-Benedict equation. The Harris-Benedict equation is what is used to find your BMR, Your BMR is your basal metabolic rate. What this is how many calories your body needs in order to not die. If you are a bump on a log, you are a bedridden patient, and you do absolutely nothing with your life, this is how many calories you need to consume on a regular basis to not cease to exist. It's literally how many calories you need to not be killed. So you need to do this first. For women, your basal metabolic rate is equivalent to 655 plus the quantity of 4.35 times your weight in pounds, plus the quantity of 4.7 times your height in inches, minus the quantity of 4.7 times your age in years. For men, your basal metabolic rate is equal to 66 plus the quantity of 6.23 times your weight in pounds, plus the quantity of 12.7 times your height in inches, minus the quantity of 6.8 times your age in years. I just wanted to say that so you guys know. Look it up, just Google it. It's a lot easier if you have it in writing than to follow an audio of it. Or you can use that nice little calculator on the spreadsheet I made, and it'll do it all for you. So, once you plug in all this information, you're going to get a number that is going to be a couple thousand. This is how many calories you need to eat in a day, do literally nothing, and still live. Once you've got that number, you need to factor in your activity level. There is a separate chart that is typically associated with this equation that goes from having little to no exercise, light exercise a couple days a week, moderate exercise, heavy exercise, and then just going absolutely nuts every single day of the week. Essentially, what you're just going to do is multiply your BMR by a number. That number ranges between 1.2 and 1.9, depending on how active you are. Obviously, 1.9 being the most active, 1.2 being the least. You can look up the chart, or I have it done automatically in the spreadsheet once again. Once you've multiplied that number by your BMR, you are going to get a larger number in the thousands. This number, for me specifically, is about 3,200 calories a day to maintain my activity level and my weight, my age, and my height. This is going to be your maintenance calorie level. So this is to do everything that you're doing on a daily basis and pretty much stay exactly where you're at. That's it. Once you have that level, that is your baseline to go for how many calories you need to take in a day and not go forwards or backwards. So take those averages you've got from your calorie counting for the last 2 weeks and logging everything in MyFitnessPal or wherever you decided to do it and compare the two. I would say, and I'm sure most of you that are trainers or experienced athletes and stuff are going to agree with me, that you would be surprised as to how many calories you're actually supposed to eat in a day and how many calories a lot of people actually eat in a day. Most people really underestimate this. People that say you're supposed to eat for your maintenance level like 2,800 calories in a day, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people are eating like 2,300, 2,400 calories in a day, and they're thinking that they're eating a lot more than that. This is why I say that a lot of people say that they eat their house every single day, but they can't gain any weight. It's a lot easier to underestimate how much you're eating in a day than it is to overestimate it or be on target. So you can see now how much you need to adjust for. Hopefully you don't have any ridiculous gaps like 800 or 1,000 calories to reach your maintenance level. If you are that low, you are going to have a struggle, but it can be done. It's just not going to be easy, and you're going to have to slowly progress to eating more and more every day without making yourself miserable at first. Don't try and make up that 1,000-calorie gap in the first week, or else you're going to feel like sleeping all the time and you're not going to do anything with your life at all. So if you do need to make up that gap, go ahead and figure out how to get an extra couple hundred calories a day and work your way up to that maintenance level. Once you've calculated your gross calorie volume that you need for your maintenance level in a day, you need to figure out your macronutrients. These are going to be your proteins, carbs, and fats. Once again, go ahead and use my spreadsheet that I put my time into because it will do that for you. If you don't want to do it that way, cool, we're going to tell you how. Now, before I talk about that, I want to talk about the macronutrients. Everyone now, I say everyone, but it's a lot of people, it's a trend that people think carbs are scary, carbs are evil, and carbs are going to kill you. You're full of shit. Stop saying that. Everyone now thinks that carbs are these evil, demonic things that come in your food, and you need to avoid them and go on the keto diet and do all kinds of crazy shit. You don't need to do that. I don't agree with it. It's bad. Stay away from it. Don't believe it. If that's what you want to do with yourself, sure, I can't really stop you, but that's just my advice. I'm going to tell you why. For those of you who don't know, keto is a diet that you only eat proteins and fats, and you don't eat carbs. You will lose a ton of weight. It's really effective, but it wasn't invented to lose weight. It was invented in the 1920s to curb seizures in epileptic patients. It's really effective because the way that your body functions when it takes these sugars in from carbs, it happens to curb the brain activity that causes these seizures and works out really well. But people decided that they wanted to lose weight and stop eating carbs, and it happened to work, so now it's a fad. The reason I say it's bad is because your body has multiple energy pathways that it uses to break down proteins, carbs, and fats to fuel your body. Carbs are broken down into sugars and used in glycolysis, which is the most common and efficient method of creating energy in your body. Basically, what happens when you stop eating carbs, your body has to shift to a different energy cycle to make energy for your muscles to function. And proteins are absolutely garbage at making fuel, but fats are super, super efficient. So it shifts over to using fats, and because fats are so energy dense, you are efficient at using them, so that's what it does, and you burn a ton of fat because your body's using all these fat storages in your body. So that's why people burn all this fat and they lose a ton of weight, and it works well, but your body stops using that carbohydrate energy cycle of glycolysis and burns fat instead of energy. So, since your body stops that and it's not used to it anymore, if you ever come off of the keto diet, people tend to gain a ton of weight because your body starts eating carbs and sugars and all this again, and it has no idea what the fuck is going on, and it just holds on to it all and packs on pounds like crazy. So yes, in the short term, keto's great. You're going to lose a bunch of weight, but it is not sustainable. It's no way to go. It wasn't intended to lose weight. It might work, but there's better ways to do it that I can talk about a different time. I personally just don't agree with it, and I think you should avoid that. So you need to have these carbs for performance, for energy, and you just need to consume them. So to figure out how many grams of these macros we need to understand that once you have your calorie count for your day, your maintenance level, proteins have 4 calories per gram, carbs have 4 calories per gram, and fats have 9 calories per gram. They are super, super, super energy dense. This is why typically you see fats are lower in grams in a daily diet than something like carbs, just because of how much energy is in them. Because if you eat 20 grams of carbs compared to eating 20 grams of fat, that is a whole lot more calories in the fat. Also, side note, I'm not going to go off onto another rant, but fats are not evil either. They're actually pretty cool and good for you, so keep eating them. You need to consume somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 7 grams of carbs per kilogram of body weight per day. If you don't know how to convert pounds to kilograms, kilograms to pounds, just take pounds and divide it by 2.2 and you got kilograms. Or the reverse, take kilograms and multiply it by 2.2. Boom, you got pounds, like freaking magic. Now you know how to use the metric system. So to make it easy, we're going to see how many carbs you need in a day and write that down once you've done the math. You need, say, an average of 6 grams of carbs per kilogram per day, between 5 and 7. We'll just call it 6 for an average. That's going to come out to the same as 2.73 grams per pound. So take your body weight, multiply that by 2.73, and that is how many grams of carbs you need in a day relative to your body weight. Now you need to figure out your protein. Your protein is probably the most widely debated topic of nutrition besides how much to eat in general. Everyone says that you need a different amount of protein. Everyone says you need to eat your protein immediately after you work out. If you don't eat it within the first 30 minutes, blah, 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 it's useless, you're full of shit. Anyways, how much protein do you need to eat in a day? Most people say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. 0.8 grams per kilogram is the daily recommended intake for people that don't do anything, for people that don't train or really do much with themselves. 2.2 grams per kilogram is the high end. This is going to be for a weightlifter, that lives in a high altitude place like Denver or something like that. If you are oxygen starved because of your environment and you're doing a ton of training, you're going to need a little bit more protein. But to make it simple, we'll call it 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight for protein. So you're going to take your body weight and multiply that by 0.6825. That is going to tell you how many grams of protein you need relative to your body weight in a daily basis. So once you've written these down, your grams of protein per day and your grams of carbs per day, you need to find your fats. Your fats are just going to be the remainder of your diet. Yes, I'm sure there's much better ways to calculate this if you are a dietitian or a nutritionist, something like that. But for my purposes, I keep it simple. I do it that way. Once I get my master's in nutrition, I would be happy to go into depth more about this and explain a better way to do it. But to keep it simple and easy, this is the way I calculate it. Now that you've written down your benchmark for your grams of carbs a day, grams of protein a day, you need to multiply each of those by 4. When you multiply the grams of carbs and protein by 4, that will tell you how many calories you need per day of protein and how many calories per day you need of carbs. Take these numbers, add them together, and subtract that from your overall calories for the day. Once you do that, you take that remaining amount of calories and divide that by 9, and that will tell you how many grams of fat you need in a day. I understand this is really hard to follow in audio because I don't have a visual, I don't have a video to go with this. Once again, use the spreadsheet and it'll do it all for you. Ideally, I'm going to make some videos and visuals in the long run, but for right now, you're just going to have to listen to me talk. Just use the spreadsheet, it'll make it easier for all of us. Now, once you've determined your benchmark macros and your calories per day for your maintenance level, you need to see what you can do to gain weight. Now, once you get your diet on track and you are at your maintenance level of calories, that's the biggest thing, is being consistent and hitting that benchmark maintenance level. Also, make sure you're drinking enough water. A lot of people don't, and that's a big important thing of diet that people don't actually hit. The recommendation is 8 glasses a day. I think everyone should just aim for a gallon. Yeah, that seems like a lot, but most of you are, if you try to drink a gallon of water a day, what you're going to do is you're going to spend your morning drinking frozen frappa, macchiato, whatever the fuck you drinks, and then at 1 o'clock you're going to start chipping away at your water. And yes, if you start at 1 p.m., a gallon of water is a lot to drink for the rest of the day. But if you just start drinking water in the morning, it's going to be like 3 in the afternoon and you're going to be out of water and you're not going to know where the whole gallon went. That's how you make it easy. So consistently hit your mark for your intake, for your activity level maintenance calories, and drink plenty of water. Now you can determine how much you need to eat in order to gain weight. Once you understand where you're at, you need to know that gaining weight is not a fast process. It's the same for losing weight. So you're gonna have some people are gonna have those beginner gains, and that's great. If you're new, you're gonna see more than some experienced people. But eventually, you're gonna slow down, and you just gotta know that that progress is still achievable. So if you are struggling to gain weight, what you need to do is set some realistic expectations. Realistically, you can gain about 1 pound to 1.5 pounds per week. Anything over that is going to be a little aggressive, and it's just not going to work out too well. In your body, 1 pound of body weight comes out to somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,500 calories. If you take 3,500 calories and divide that by 7 days, that is a 500 calorie surplus per day. So if you are eating in excess of your maintenance level, 500 calories a day, 7 days a week, that will add up to 3,500 calories a week, and you should be on track to gain about 1 pound a week. Yes, that is not going to be the 40 pounds a month that everyone wants, but you just can't do that. Create this manageable and realistic gain track to stay on, and you will be good. It's going to be tough at first getting these extra calories in, but over time you're going to get used to it. Like I said about being at your maintenance level, if you are falling beyond or below your maintenance level and you can't get to that point, take it up a little bit at a time. Don't make 500 calorie jumps, 800 calorie jumps in a day straight out of the gate. It's going to be impossible, you're going to struggle, and it's going to be miserable. So go ahead and make these slow climbs and jumps to getting to that calorie point that you need. Once you do that, stay consistent with that. If you need to switch it up, if you need to drink your calories in a shake, if you need to blend up your food and drink it because sometimes you literally just can't sit down and eat another meal. I have no idea what the guy's name is, but he's like one of the biggest power lifters in the world, and he drinks every single one of his meals. He takes his chicken and his vegetables and all that crap, throws it in the blender with water, and drinks it because he is physically unable to sit down and have these like 10 meals a day, so he just drinks it all. I think that's terrible and ridiculous. It's no way to live. But if you do need a few extra calories and you need to make another shake or 2 shakes a day, this doesn't mean protein shakes. It can be whatever you want. Do that. That'll make it easier. You don't have to get these 500 calories. You don't have to add like more pounds of chicken and vegetables, what have you, every day. Eat whatever you need to make up those 500 calories. If you're trying to gain weight, don't lean bulk. Actually eat stuff and make some progress. If you want to gain 5 pounds over a long time and stay lean, yeah, sure, go ahead and do that. But if you're trying to do something like gain 20 pounds over a couple months, eat what you want. Be reasonable. But if you want to go get a burger or a pizza or something and add in something like that a couple times a week, or if you want to add in milkshakes, I eat milkshakes all the time because it helps me gain weight. Stuff like that. Get those extra calories in, and don't be afraid to, people call it a dirty bulk. Don't be afraid to do that because you're trying to gain weight. That's the whole point. If you're trying to gain weight, why are you worried about being lean while you do it? Just do what you need to do, gain the weight now, and then burn off the fat before your competition or the beach or whatever you got to do. You're doing yourself a disservice and making everything a lot more difficult if you're trying to be lean while you're putting this weight on. So just stay within reason of what you're eating to bulk up and get those extra calories on top of your maintenance level. But keep your goals realistic. Like I said, don't go out and make this plan to gain 50 pounds in 2 months because it's never going to happen. If you've been training for a long time, your gains are going to be slower than new people. You just got to understand that and stick with it. It'll come over time. Keep track of everything as you get more in depth with this and you understand your macros and your calories and everything. You're probably going to just become a machine with it. You're going to eat probably the same stuff all the time, on a schedule, and you're really not going to think about it. But at first, keep track on paper of like what you're eating, when you're eating it. Tracking your food, it's going to make it easier to manage. Track your body weight and everything to help you see that progress and solidify why you're doing what you're doing. Make adjustments as you need to. As you gain weight, you're going to have to adjust things. If you calculated before the requirements of a 150-pound person and you now weigh 175 pounds, you're going to need to run the numbers again because you're going to have a pretty decent calorie difference between what a 150-pound person needs and a 175-pound person needs. So go ahead and make adjustments with your numbers every now and again. Bounce back and forth on different ideas. Switch up your diet and stuff so you don't get bored. But just stay on top of it all. Keep track of stuff. If you are stopping seeing progress, just run the numbers again. Make sure you're in check, and you should be good to go. Just remember, stay that couple hundred calories above your maintenance level, and it will work over time. Stay consistent with it. Keep track of it so you can see that it's working. Put in the work, and get fucking huge. This has been just a big general overview of figuring out how much you need to eat to gain weight and the little things you need to do to get to that point. I know a lot of the issues aren't what people think they are with gaining weight. I think it just comes down to the numbers and not understanding how to figure out what you need in order to track to the point that you can actually gain weight. So go ahead and do the math, look it up. If you want to do it manually yourself, I think that's good. Everyone should know how to do that, especially if you're an athlete or you're training in weightlifting, strength, whatever you want to do. I think it's important to know how to do that. Or if you don't want to do all that math, go ahead and let me know. I will give you the link to the spreadsheet that you can make a copy of and change all the numbers for yourself, which is nice because you can save it And whenever you do those progress checks, you can do it that way. Or I will also have that spreadsheet linked in the description on YouTube. Let me know if you guys have any questions or need any clarification on stuff. I know it is a little bit harder to follow the numbers and formulas whenever I'm just talking about it and I don't have a visual aid. Hopefully here before too long I will be changing that and getting some visuals to go with this. Thank you guys so much for listening to the episode. Please share this with anyone that you think might be interested or need to hear this in their weightlifting, weight gain journey. Please contact me and give me your feedback. Tell me what you liked. Tell me what you didn't like. Tell me what you want to hear. Ask me questions. Anything else you can think of. If you want to come on here and talk with me, let me know and we'll set something up. Look out for the next episode that is coming this Monday, tomorrow. That is Monday Massacre, Part 2 of Working for Your Knowledge. This is a special episode I didn't have planned, but I have a guest that's going to be on with me, and it's a really good episode. I think you guys are going to like it a lot. Once again, thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen. And remember, always attack life head first.